Okay, in this video we will be talking about the chromatic aberration correction. So first of all, let's move over towards the lens corrections panel. And as you can see here in the profile tab, we have the possibility of ticking this radio button, remove chromatic aberration. This feature is very important and very handy. I recommend to keep it enabled by default, to always use it whatever image you are working on. Since the Adobe Camera Raw deals very efficiently with chromatic aberration, even with this automatic mode. So if I zoom in into my image and let's untick this button, so at this point we don't have any chromatic aberration correction visible. Here it's a very slightly visible. If you have a closer look, if I zoom in even further, now we are looking at the 600% magnification level. You can see this very slight purple haze visible to the right hand side of this stroke, of this edge. If I zoom out and if I go towards the right hand side, and now if we zoom in, we can see the chromatic aberration very clearly here. This aberration is usually visible when we have very strongly contrasting areas, very often when there is dark shape against the white bright background. So as you can see here, very clearly we have the chromatic aberration. We have the purple haze to the right hand side to the edge of the element and greenish haze to the left hand side, and it goes all the way along the hill. So if we just focus on these elements, and if I simply enable the automatic chromatic aberration removal, you can see that the effect is much better, that the Adobe Camera Raw is getting rid of this aberration in a very efficient way. I can still see here a little bit of this purple haze, so in order to fine-tune this effect, to fine-tune this correction, we can go to the manual mode, and here I would recommend to be really precise. When you are working with these sliders, try to narrow the color selection to the range that reflects chromatic aberration in your image. So use large magnification. I'm working here at the level of 600% to examine the image. So I want to get rid of this purple haze that is still a little bit visible and is bothering me a bit. So I'm going just to use the first slider to get rid of the green haze you would be working with the second pair of sliders. So the first one is representing the purple haze, and simply by moving it towards the right hand side, I'm decreasing the haze. And don't overdo this, since it can cause other problem in the image. So be really precise here. I can next narrow the range of colors. So now it's pretty wide. It's starting from the blue and reaching to the red. In the middle we have the magentas. I can try to narrow down the range of color that is reflecting in my image. So remember, the more precise you are, the better here. So for the sake of this course, I'm working really quickly, but simply by toggling this icon on and off, we can see the effect after and before the corrections. The effect is very subtle, however, I was able to achieve more neutral result. Now the chromatic aberration is gone completely. So this is before and after the adjustments. So typically applying just the automatic feature from the lens correction panel, the chromatic aberration removal fixes perfectly this sort of issues. If you have some stronger chromatic aberration, you can always move over to the manual panel and fiddle with these sliders by hand, fiddle with them manually, and to fine-tune the final result. Okay, so in this clip we have covered the chromatic aberration corrections. Let's now move over to the next video, where we will start working on luminosity adjustments in our RAW file. See you in the next clip.